how does a guy go about finding a good quality woman to be with, and also what attributes should he really be looking for? Do you think?
I think you've got to start with the end in mind a lot of the time, and like I know that if I'm looking for a girl, that I want to put a baby into, want to have something more long term with. Like, there's certain things I'm going to screen for, and there's certain behaviors and I'm not really going to accept, right? And women will reveal themselves very easily. Like, they're not very good at hiding their true selves after a long enough period of time.
Yeah.
They might be able to act on the first date, like they'll say things that oh yeah, I'm a good girl, I would never do this, I never do that, blah blah. But the behaviors will betray them.
Yes. And that's... Sorry.
You're right.
Just putting down the sparkling water. And that's an interesting point, because I think I'm right in saying that Andrew said this somewhere, but I don't think that it's about trying to control somebody. It's not about trying to control a woman or anything like that. It's about looking at their behavior and then seeing if that suits what you're about, and then acting accordingly. So really, in a way, this is about having firm boundaries, isn't it?
It's bingo. That's exactly it. If you as a man don't have any boundaries, then a woman cannot possibly respect you. You have to give her that box in which she can operate.
Yeah.
Because men. Someone gave me this analogy a while ago. It was like, imagine the function of a tribe. And you can imagine it as like a circle, right? And the men create that circle, and they face outward and defend that circle. And the women face into that circle and take care of what's in that circle, which in the context of a tribe, that's kids and children and the maintenance of the household and that sort of stuff within that tribe. But men define the boundary and protect it, and women then operate within that boundary.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of not even so subtle things, but like how tidy is a woman? What is her nature like? I mean, I know, for example, this young lady right here. One of the first things I noticed was that the first night we were together, when I woke up, my clothes that I had just tossed around the room in the heat of passion,
in abandon,
right, were folded up neatly and put in a pile somewhere.
Very nice.
The very next morning. But to me that is a giant green flag. That is like, okay, here's a woman who wants to take care of me, can take care of her household, is very tidy, respectful. Like, these are all positive things. Was that something that you consciously sort of learned, consciously knew? Or was that more something that you were kind of brought up with? Where did this element of taking care of your man come from, do you think?
For sure, something that I'm brought up with. It's something that my mom taught us since we were very little. Even having help in the house, we always had to make sure that everything is tidy up. Our stuff, our brother's stuff, our father's stuff, it's the same.
But it came from your mother. It came from a household. It came from having a parents in your house, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Like that. So that is something you can look for in a woman. Is what's her relationship like with her mother and her father? What kind of role models were her mother and her father? Right? Are these things going to pass down to her, or did they get passed down to her? Because, it is unfortunate to say that in America they have a pandemic of single parent households in that country, which does screw a lot of this up, right? But we've talked about this before, where women, you've said in astonishment, like, how could a woman act like this? How could, like, talking about Western women, right? How can they act like this? How can they be so untidy? How could they walk around showing so much flesh, like, and why don't they want to, like, learn about etiquette and things like this, right?
It might be worth just saying, because your background is quite traditional. I mean, is it? Does that make a difference, Sterling? Would you say? I mean, is there some value in seeking a woman who comes from maybe a somewhat more traditional sort of background or country.
Like a Muslim background has a massive impact on why you are so well suited to me, right? And it's another giant thing is that you are super open to the idea of me being with a woman. Like, you literally, like, this woman will literally go around the club and talk to girls and bring them to me.
Nice.
But okay. And this is a really important thing for you to communicate, I think, is why does that make sense to you? Like, the idea of why does because for most women, the idea of their man being with another man would drive them insane and with jealousy, right? But with you have a different mentality and a different worldview on that, on men being with multiple women.
Yeah, I think most men will be with other women, whether women like it or not. So the idea of actually accepting it from the beginning and being open about it, and actually having a thought about sharing your man with other women and maybe having threesome or group sex, sometimes is something that a woman has to think about to have a better relationship at home. So what we believe in is when you open up this kind of chapter with your man, he would always come back to you and come back to your bed feeling more happy and more full and having a little bit more of a breather with other women. So I think it's a choice that women have to learn to accept and be open to, share their men and have other experiences with women as well.
Yeah, no, it's interesting stuff. And this is kind of the sort of segues into the Jay Waller kind of point, doesn't it? Whereby it should be about honesty, because most guys really go into relationships and they're not honest with the women that they're with about the fact that they probably do, occasionally, or maybe more than occasionally, want to have different partners, right? And the truth is, I mean, men are programmed in that way, aren't they? That's the reality. I think a lot of guys, maybe they're not even honest with themselves about it, right? But I think Jay Waller's point is that, or Justin's point is that it's better to just be upfront and own that from the beginning and make that clear to the woman, and then sort of let her then make the decision. Okay, well, what's she going to do with that?
Yeah, there's no coercion here. There's no I'm not beating her with a belt saying like you must let me have another girl in the bedroom or anything like this. Yeah. It's like, okay, here's who I am. I'm a man. I'm like, I have desires. I have drives. Like that. One of those base ones is that I need multiple women to feel to get that satisfaction. So that's who I am. And you can take that and either stay with me or you cannot. And it's a choice that you will freely make.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was talking to a girl yesterday actually about this, and she was saying that she met this dude who's a DJ, and he's traveling around, going to different places to play gigs and stuff, and she'd started to hook up with him, and then he turned around to her and said, well, I'm not monogamous, this has got to be open, and I'm going to be seeing other people. And she was saying to me, well, what do I do about it? And I said, well, that's a choice for you to make. It depends, but at least he's been honest with you. And actually, you've got to take your hat off to that guy, because not most guys, a lot of guys would probably, they just go and do it anyway. They go and sleep with the other women, but they just wouldn't tell her.
And they do that out of scarcity. They do that because they don't think they can actually replace her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't think that, okay, I've got this girl. If she knew that I would have been having sex with this other girl, she might leave me, and then they'll feel like they've got no options at all. There's an interesting, a survival principle, right? This is a bit of a segue, but it'll make sense in a second. So there's a survival principle where it's like, if you have one, you have none, and if you have three, you have one.
Yes.
So if I have 1 liter of water, I have none. Or like 1 canister of water when I'm out in the survival situation, I have none. If I have 3 canisters of water, I have 1.
Yes.
It's a contingency thing, right? Like what, if I have like one lighter, right? I have none. If I have 3, I have 1.
Yeah.
It's the same principle with survival, right? And I think that mentality actually helps a lot of guys in terms of getting to that level of abundance where they can really just be themselves and be honest. Because you get me, you get the real me, all aspects of me. Like there's no like shield, there's no character. It's literally just me being open and honest the entire time, which is exactly what you want out of that relationship, right? And I think a lot of women miss out on that from their man because they don't allow their man to actually be who he is.
Yeah.
They make the mistake of trying to control him and trap him and confine that just that one aspect to him, the sexuality, that one aspect. They try to control and confine that one aspect of him, and in doing so, they confine the whole of him, and so they don't get the real man.
Well, I think there's, I guess maybe it's always been the case, but there's a lack of honesty in this whole area about sexuality, about guys' sexuality and what they actually want. And I mean, even Lucario was talking about this. You remember when we were at the CME earlier in the year, and Lucario's whole speech was about the same thing. I mean, Andrew talks about it as well. Justin, yourself, I mean, there are people now coming to the forefront and being more honest and open about this, and actually talking about it. And that surely has got to be a healthy thing. As much as people would talk about, I don't know, misogyny and all this kind of stuff, but actually the reality is just being a bit more sort of direct and putting it out on the table. What guys want, what women want, and trying to come to an understanding.
I mean, think about it this way: like, if I'm a man who's worked his entire life to make a bunch of money, build my body, get in shape, build a social circle, build a life worth having. Have I built that and put my entire life, putting all that time, effort, and energy in to just want, at the end of the day, only want one vagina? No. The same reason I don't only want $1 bill. Like I don't want just my one arm to be jacked. I want the whole body to be fit. The whole point of conquest as a man is to get abundance of resources, is to have options,
Yeah.
And I think there's something that you need to touch on here as well, which is why, because if a woman watches this, a lot of Western women, if they watch what we've just said, they'll be like, okay, that means that I could now go out and suck a bunch of dicks. Why, as a woman, is that not the case?
So I think for a woman, if she will be open to, let's say, compare herself to a man and do the same thing that a man does, she's creating comparison. And I think the moment she opens the door for another man, she already closed the door with the first man.
Aha.
So it doesn't work. It means she already flipped the chapter. So when she will go back to her first man, she will not treat him the same way. She might already have other experience with another guy that she actually enjoys more. So I do believe that if a woman loves a man, wants to keep a good relationship with him, she shouldn't be open to even the thought of being with other men. It's not about comparison. You need to understand that men have different mentality, men have different needs. Men can segregate between someone they love and someone they want to just have a nice experience with. Women cannot. We do things with feelings. We have sex with feelings. Regardless if someone says, no, sometimes it's just sex, it's always connected to feelings and energy. So I don't think it works.
That's a really interesting point. I mean, would you say, from your point of view, do you think women can ever have sex without feeling, or do you think that it always comes into it to some extent?
It's either feelings or energy.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, if maybe they can just, switch off certain feelings, but I think the energy that she gives to a man when she has sex is something that she cannot forget. It's going to stick to her mind for some time, and then when she's going to go back to her man and have sex with him, certain memories will just fold back.
Yeah, no, interesting. And like Andrew was saying, I think on one of the Fresh and Fits, it's about sort of reconstituting what fidelity is, or sort of if she is his queen and she is the top of the bunch sort of thing, then the fact that he maybe went to the club on Wednesday and something happened with the waitress or whatever. It doesn't, like, what does that really matter in the context of
I'll tell you another thing. Let's say, the Queen getting upset about that, all that does is lower her rank in his mind, because she's now added unnecessary drama to his life, unnecessary negative energy. Whereas the complete opposite of that reaction, if she's like, baby, I'll bring a girl around for you next time, or I'll join in with you next time, or whatever, she wants to encourage that act, that only raises her up in his mind. It's like, well, god damn, I'm keeping this one around.
Yeah.
Because it's so rare to find that.
Yeah.
It's so rare to find a girl who actually understands male nature, actually gets it, and can compliment you that way.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, there's so many women who would react really negative to that situation, and all that is going to do is drive him away.
Yeah.
That's all it's going to do, is make him not want to hang out with you.
Well, if he's a high value guy, like I say, high value, like if he's objectively in the top sort of percentile of guys, it's going to drive him away. But most guys, because of scarcity, either real or imagined, they're going to go along with it. Right?
They're going to buckle under the pressure of that negative energy she's trying to put on him, and she's going to try and guilt him, she's going to try and shame him, and she's going to try and make him buckle. And if you think about that for a second, all she's really doing is making the man she wants to keep, right? The man she's feeling jealous over. All that is doing is making him like a lesser of a man. Yeah. It's in her own eyes. She'll lose respect for him if he buckles under her pressure.
Yeah. But
she's actually it's a self-own. She's actually screwing herself over.
It is, but then that's just unfortunately that's just we know about the betarization effect or whatever they call it. Like the death by 1,000 concessions. I mean, unfortunately, I think that women will test guys in different ways, and this is one way that they'll test guys. And if he doesn't pass those tests, then superficially she might be like, oh well, that's nice, that's good, but subconsciously she's going to lose that respect, unfortunately. And that's just the way it is. I don't think there's anything. I don't think you can call women out for that and say, well, you shouldn't do that, because that's just their nature to do that, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's not really women's job to understand their own nature. I don't think.
No.
I think it's men's job to understand male nature, and it's men's job as well to understand female nature, because we're the leaders in the family, right? We're the ones who have to take charge. We're the ones who have to provide and protect them, right? And we're the ones that have to look after them when they're feeling emotional. Like, we're the ones who have to kind of direct those emotions in the correct way. So it's the guy's job to actually understand their own nature better than women do themselves.
Yeah. Indeed. And I mean, what kind of family setup or what kind of relationship setup would you ideally have? I know. Yeah.
Multiple wives, all with beautiful kids of my own. Ideally, all living on the same property together, getting along fine, not causing any drama. And when they do, they can go to their own house for the weekend and like. So I have actually a buddy in Australia who pulled off something very, very similar to this. So like there'd be a main house, and then each wife will have their own house, right? When I tell them they come to the main house, everyone gets along, has a good time, and then, if she needs time alone, she goes to her own house. Or if she's misbehaving, she goes to her own house. And that's her time to contemplate and reflect. Cool. And then when she's behaving again, she comes back. And she gets welcomed back into the fold. And it's not that dissimilar from the way sultans used to do this kind of stuff. Right? Correct?
Correct.
Right.
I want to add something. So back in
No.
time, back in time, men used to go to war, used to go on fishing trips that are more than 6 months, 7 months. Women knew that their men had to have sex, so they had to have sex with other women. So they were always waiting for him regardless. So what did change?
Nothing.
We're still living in the same life. So the only thing that changed maybe is that nowadays, maybe some men are making a mistake of being in front of the woman the whole day, the whole time. So I really agree that sometimes it's better to live in separate homes, because sometimes
What is quite interesting chatting to you about is the
just creates a very nice balance.
Yeah.
That a woman would focus on herself and maybe, take care about kids, family, growth, etiquette, learning how to cook, doing things for her man, and the men will have their own space as well to work and to be great. So I don't know what happened to women when it comes to that. Their mind just shifted to something else. But this is how men's nature is. This is how it was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's a perfect example. Like, we used to go off on wars, go off on a sailing boat, sail across the sea,
yeah.
take a boat from Spain to South America,
Yeah.
conquer a new land, come back with all this gold.
Now we do TikTok dances.
And now we do TikTok dance. And it's and now we're in a culture where the norm is that your woman will be around you all the time if she's your woman. And this is actually something that Andrew Tate introduced to me, was that, like, no, you should not be around that female energy all the time, because it drains you as a man. You should actually be around your boys. You should actually be around other men who are conquering and accomplishing things. And then you spend your time with your woman, and that time apart allows her to appreciate you more.
Yeah.
She really appreciates you because she can only appreciate you when she misses you.
Yeah, true. Well, one of the things that's always sort of scared me off in terms of all of conventional life really is domesticity. Domesticity is the killer, I think, really. And we know it is, because the problem is people move in together and then the relationship starts to go downhill. It happens in mainstream society. The sex goes off, it start, more arguments. I mean, we saw that during the pandemic to some extent. People locked up together for months and months on end. I mean, a lot of relationships ended up breaking up over that period because, well, I mean, it stands to reason, doesn't it? Yet people will still keep making that same fundamental error of, like, oh, right, let's get married and let's move in together and we'll spend it 24/7 in our company. How is that ever good for a relationship?
I don't think it is. I think because, okay, that the idea of, like, the nuclear family, right, and that fundamental partnering up of men and women it made sense during the period of human history when men actually had to go away.
Yeah.
To bring home the bread. They had to go away to fight. They had to go away to make a living. They had to leave the household, leave their city, leave their town, whatever, and go somewhere else, and then come back with the spoils. Even go back to, like, hunter-gatherer times. They had to go out on the hunt.
Yeah.
Maybe for a couple of days, go camping, and then they come back. Like, so that it's not that the idea of, like, the nuclear family is wrong. I think that's very, very fundamental and very, very important for a stable society, and makes for happy, healthy kids, makes for a good relationship, right? But that time apart is something that we have. Maybe it's due to the nature of technological advancement, the nature of how our society's progressed. We don't need to do that as much anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to bring home the bacon. But it's still. Then we have to, as men, we have to artificially, well, maybe not necessarily artificially, but in some way, shape, or form, create that space.
Yeah.
So we can have that time apart, where she can learn to appreciate what you actually bring as a man to her in her life.
Yeah.
Right? That stability, that emotional stability, right? That nurturing, that protecting, those resources, and then create the distance again.
Yeah.
And repeat this process again and again. It's like, what is that? What's the old saying? Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
It's totally true.
Yeah,
Totally
it's a very fundamental, basic thing, and I think even if you're not going to be living the Miami Playboy lifestyle or whatever, I mean, your aim is not to have multiple wives and all the rest of it. That's fine, but I think the one thing to take from this is that you need to create a bit of distance. You just do, and I've seen so many just of my friends, like people that I know not involved with any of this stuff, who got married and they spend a bit of time together, and unfortunately a lot of marriages end up breaking up, and I think this is a big part of it. You're sat around in your house with the wife, too much time together, and all the mystery goes, and it's just not a good recipe.
Human beings they have a fundamental need for both certainty and uncertainty.
That's a really profound point, actually.
We need both, and when you only have that certainty, like, oh, he's going to be home at 6 o'clock, he's going to be doing this, here's his routine, he's going to do the exact same things, he's going to say the exact same things, he's going to treat me exactly the same way. there's no uncertainty in her life, in her relationship, or in yours, really. So what's going to happen? Well, she's going to have to create some uncertainty.
Yes.
By creating drama. That is going to, because then she doesn't, she's not consciously thinking it. She's doing it unconsciously, but she has to create that drama to create some uncertainty because she doesn't know how you're going to react to that drama, right? And then that fulfills a need of hers.
Yeah.
So that is why she's if you're living with her 24/7, she starts acting like a bitch because you've given her nothing but certainty. There is no mystery, like you said, no mystery, no intrigue, no emotional spikes, nothing whatsoever. It's all too comfortable.
Yeah.
Purely, but maybe that wouldn't have been the case if you were on the frontier as a pioneer in, California hundreds of years ago, trying to not get dysentery or whatever, as you're, trailblazing across the West. Because the very nature of existence was uncertain.
Yes.
But now we live in a society where basically every one of our fundamental needs are taken care of. So there's a whole lot of certainty in our lives.
Yeah.
And people are missing that uncertainty. And especially women, when they get into a relationship, they miss that uncertainty.
Yeah, they really do, unfortunately. And I mean, it's often said, isn't it, women like men who are unpredictable, who they can't tie them down so easily, right? And I mean, I even remember I've had back in the day, women even verbalizing that to me. When I was back in my sort of more blue pill days or whatever, you'd literally get women saying, like, I need that I need the roller coaster, and it's something that I think for a lot of guys it's not really intuitive because we're brought up with the sort of Disney idea of you've got to be the decent, honourable, upstanding dude.
I think men's lives are by nature full of more uncertainty than a woman's life is. Because men have to fight for their position. They have to spend their whole life building themselves up, building their wealth, building their body, all these things. Whereas with a woman, for a large part, the thing that makes you attractive to a partner is your beauty. There's a degree of certainty in that. You're born with it, right? And you basically know that you're going to be taken care of as a woman. Some man is going to come along and he'll take care of you, or your father's going to take care of you. But as a man, you kind of get kicked out of the home at a certain age and you have to fend for yourself. So men's life, by its very nature, has that uncertainty already built into it. And so for men, I think it's very hard for them to understand women's need for the uncertainty. Because, both men and women make the same mistake, where they think that the other sex views the world the same way they do. So women make the mistake in thinking that, that all men are the top 1% men, right?
Yeah.
And every other man is basically invisible to them.
Yeah.
And men make the mistake of thinking that women they just want peace and quiet. I just want my stable, comfortable life, peace and quiet, no drama, and everything will be happy. Wrong. We gotta start understanding the other sex's perspective on it.
Yeah. And understanding the psychology of the other sex is really important. Otherwise, you're gonna. And I mean, I think one of the problems. I mean, a lot of guys are fairly clueless about all this stuff, but also fundamentally they're a bit boring. And that is a problem, that is a problem. And I think guys get resentful about it as well because they're like, no, I'm a decent guy, I'm a nice guy, and it's like, yeah, but you're a bit boring, mate. And that's part of the problem. The way that you're presenting is not, it's not polarizing enough, it's not edgy, it's not cool.
Yeah, you can still be a nice guy and be unpredictable. Because I like to consider myself a nice guy.
Yes.
Would you consider me a nice guy? Okay. So, I'm a nice guy, but I'm also a little bit unpredictable.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, with all of this stuff, it's not about becoming some kind of sociopath. It's like you could be a decent human being, but you've got to have a little bit of, I don't know, man. You've got
to life, man. And not only does it help your relationships with women, it makes your life more fun. It makes your life more exciting and more enjoyable. If you are constantly trying to add that excitement, that uncertainty, that adventure to your own life, all great. You've just created an entire roller coaster for yourself. And then everyone else can hop on and come along for the ride. So Well,
Indeed, exactly. Well, we've been going for a little while, haven't we? So
I think it's a good time to wrap up.
absolutely. So if people want to jump on your roller coaster, Sterling, where could they? Where could not literally, not like that, not literally.
That's reserved for women like
Yeah, exactly. But where could they? Where should they go? Where can they find you?
sterlingcooper.com. You can get all my material there, all the courses I sell, the books I sell. You can find my links to my social medias there. But if you want to find me individually on any social media, my YouTube is Sterling Cooper. You can type that in. I'm the first thing that comes up. Sterling is spelled STIRLING. My Twitter is @SterlingWisdom. My Instagram is @CooperSterling, and that's where you'll find me.
Great stuff, man. Well, as always, absolute pleasure, and we will hopefully meet up again in some far-flung location in the near future. But yeah, man, it's been awesome, and thanks ever so much. See you again.